Module 12, Case Study, EDL850. Section 1, Summary of the Case. St. Regis School is located in a rural area and it is located in a small town of St. Regis. It has students grades K through 8th grade. First we have Mr. Keith Sample. He's the principal of the school. He was informed that Mrs. Lin was violating copyright laws and could get the school and the school district into some big consequences. The PTA is also involved, agreed to use money earned from fundraisers to purchase new computers, and their goal is to purchase new software programs for the next 2 years. Mrs. Lin is distributing copies of original work without the permission from the author. She is distributing them to teachers in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade levels. Mrs. Williams is an inexperienced teacher who has been at the school for many years. She was happy to receive the copied computer programs. Mrs. Brandon is a new teacher with little experience. She thanked Mrs. Lin, but did not agree to take the computer programs because of her concern about copyright violations. Mrs. Evans is the PTA president who volunteered to help in the library to make the copies as well. Section 2. Report any legal or ethical issues. Here are some legal issues. The 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade teachers are harmed by a copyright violation created by Mrs. Lin. A computer program was distributed through a flash drive. By doing so, this is a breach of contract because Mrs. Lin was not given permission by the author to make copies of the computer program. If the owner or publisher was to find out, there would be severe consequences to the school, the district, and probably more on Mrs. Lin. The action of sharing and photocopying material contravenes with the copyright laws. Mrs. Brandon decided to speak up to principal and notify him about the copyright infringement. The rest of the teachers just thanked Mrs. Lin and accepted the flash drives full of copied computer programs. Here are some ethical issues. The actions that occurred were not discriminatory nor constituted harassment. It was just a disagreement between opinions and intentions. It is a great idea to be resourceful. However, we need to give credit and ask for permission from the original publishers. Other teachers who are aware of the copyright law should have also reported it to Mr. Sample. It's important that teachers feel comfortable communicating with the principal as well as with other peers. Section 3. Synthesize the event. Despite her good intentions of finding ways to help improve learning using digital programs, Mrs. Lin has violated copyright laws, which will now have to be assessed by Mr. Sample so that he can find the best solution to the issue and avoid any harsh consequences that the school may be affected by. Section 4. Synthesize the facts. Some people that are included are, as mentioned, Mr. Keith Sample. He's the principal for the past 3 years, establishing positive relationships with resistant teachers, and has informed Mrs. Lin that she was violating copyright laws. Mrs. Lin is the library media specialist and computer laboratory teacher who is copying computer programs and distributing them through flash drives to other teachers. Mrs. Williams is an experienced teacher from 3rd grade who has also taught at the school. She has gladly accepted the flash drive of the computer program. Mrs. Brandon is a new 3rd grade teacher at the school who has 3 years of experience only. She thanked Mrs. Lin but did not agree with her. Mrs. Evans is the PTA president again as who volunteered to help make the library make the copies in the library. So where is this occurring? At St. Regis School. As mentioned again, it includes students grades K through 8th grade. They are located in a rural area 25 miles from a large city, and the school's student population is approximately 420 students, which only requires 2 teachers in each grade level, so it's pretty small. Some programs include the special education program, the library media program, and the computer programs. Section 5. Review and prioritize the information. The conflict could affect the school and its students. The publisher may not be willing to allow the school and its members to purchase their programs again. The school may have to face a lawsuit which could cost a lot of money. Mr. Sample is the principal and he is ultimately responsible for the decisions made at the school. Mrs. Lin may lose her job or receive any other harsh consequences for breaking the copyright laws. Mrs. Brandon may lose hope of establishing good and trusting relationship with other teachers, especially because she's a new teacher. Mrs. Williams is held accountable for taking the copies and not reporting it, even though she is one of the people that has been at the school for quite a while. Mrs. Evans helped with making copies of the original computer programs. The principal should speak to the Board of Education and superintendent to find out the best ways to resolve the issue before it becomes a bigger problem. The Board of Education should review the actions taken by the teachers and see what needs to be done to avoid situations like these from happening again. Section 5. Review impartors information. So what else do we know? I would like to learn more about whether the teachers at St. Regis School were educated about copyright laws. I want to know if the teachers were given professional development or proper training on the issue. Perhaps a lawyer could help make the right decisions to avoid a lawsuit. I would need to reflect on what I know and what I don't know in regards to copyright materials. I think I know enough to make a good decision on what is allowed with copyright laws. However, I still think that it's important to learn more and always be aware so that I could avoid breaking copyright laws, whether or not it would be intentional. I know that the copies need to be destroyed and make sure that teachers don't use copies. Section 6. Identifying the options. Option 1. Not making any decision or taking no action at all. I could possibly be reprimanded or given harsh consequences for knowing about the situation and not informing the principal. I would also feel guilty of not doing my job and not making an ethical decision to report Mrs. Lin. I would lose the respect of co-workers and other members of the community for not reporting the incident, as this affects the school community as a whole. However, if I do nothing, then students could potentially benefit from a new learning experience by using digital programs and become successful. Option 2. Most comprehensive or liberal action. I would collect all the flash drives and give them to Mr. Sample to show us proof of evidence that a copyright law has been violated. She could be cited for breaking the copyright laws. Then all the copies should be immediately destroyed. A faculty member should be called upon as immediately as possible to discuss the issue and the solutions that could be taken. In addition, communicating with the PTA president and its members will be important to help educate them about copyrights. Option 3. Intermediate strategies. Talk to Mrs. Lin and reprimand her for breaking copyright laws. Fire, give harsh consequences to all the teachers that were involved with using copyrighted materials, and I would have more training sessions about copyright laws and go over school board policies. So, let's evaluate the options. Option 1. Here are some pros. Computer programs promote differentiated learning for students. The school saves money by not purchasing extra programs. The PTA and teachers are happy to be using new computer programs to teach their students. However, here are some cons. They may receive harsh consequences for not following copyright laws. They may lose respect from community and other school members, and they lose a lot of money from being sued. Option 2. Some pros may include that the school won't get in trouble for making copies of computer programs. Mrs. Brandon will feel relieved that she's following the law. Teachers won't be receiving any repercussions for using the copies. However, some cons may include Mrs. Lin will have a negative perception of Miss Brandon because she was told upon. Mrs. Lin could possibly lose her job, and the school may not be able to save as much money because they would need to buy more programs. Option 3. Some pros may include all copies being fully destroyed, the school will probably not be sued, and the teachers are aware of copyright laws. Some cons may include teachers may be nervous when dealing with administration because of being fired right away. Teachers may be fired and hard to replace right away. Teachers are very hard to find. And Mr. Sample may also be fired if the school gets sued. Again, he is ultimately in charge of all his teachers and other staff members, and the PTA may be disappointed that the school was not able to benefit as much as they had hoped from those programs. Section 8. Choosing the best option. Out of all my options, I feel that the section option is the best. As a principal, it's important that we find ways to educate our students. However, we need to find ways without breaking the law. The decisions we make as school leaders should always be in the best interest of the students, but of course to the extent that we follow laws and the school board policies. My decision would be best implemented by talking to Mrs. Lin one-on-one about the situation and how it could have resulted in a very bad outcome. Everyone makes bad choices at times, but it should not be punished severely for her choices. So despite the insightful reasons for copying the computer programs, after consulting with the superintendent and board of education, I feel that they will agree with me and will follow and allow Mrs. Lin to keep her job as long as she is educated and aware of the copyright laws. It is understood that her intentions were very good, she just needs to find a better way to be resourceful. All teachers will be required to attend training on copyright laws. So, Section 9, Implementing the Decision. My plan of action. I will first speak to Mrs. Lin about how she had copied multiple computer programs and distributed them. I'll make sure she collects and destroys them right away. Secondly, I will then determine who has used copies so I can speak to them about copyright laws. Third, I'll also inform the superintendent and board of education about the incident. I will inform them of the plan that needs to be taken to help educate teachers about copyright laws. Then the superintendent and board of education will create policies in regards to copyright. The policy is already made, they will go over them to make changes or improvement where needed. Training will be implemented for all teachers, and the PTA officers will be required to come to them as well. They need to be aware of the severity of the situation and how things could possibly have gotten worse. It is important that as a principal, my job is to help adults, the teachers, do their jobs successfully. I must educate them just as I must educate students. As school leaders, it is important to establish a constructive and positive relationship with all teachers. It is my job to enforce the rules and make sure that the laws are being followed. If my plan is ineffective and does not work, I would need to take the harsher route and require mandatory monthly training on copyright laws and change board policies that say that someone who violates the law will be reprimanded from their job. It's always important to have a plan B. In conclusion, as a school leader, as I reflect on the case study, I learned that it's quite important to be aware of what is going on in my school. It's important that I am able to develop a good relationship with the teachers and other staff members at school so that they are able to willingly communicate with me on any issues that may arise. In addition, it's also important that I have professional development training for them. Teachers and other staff members should be educated on policies that could ever be changing. As a school leader, I must find the best legal ways to obtain resources and find ways that can help us also save school money. In addition, I can also communicate with parents about the policies and guidelines that the school follows so that they are aware of what is going on at the school. It's important to notice how laws should be applied consistently, fairly, equitably, and ethically to help promote a positive and safe learning environment. With the use of technology, I can create presentations that can be shown in faculty meetings. These can help serve as basic examples of information on certain laws. The use of technology can be very beneficial, and we can find ways to incorporate it in our class to help our students reach success. This case study has definitely taught me a lot about copyright laws and how I should really take my role seriously as a school leader. Here are my references, and thank you.